And one random day, we were in Vienna. It was in January at this point. And we just started getting email after email, dozens, even hundreds of emails about this Exodus 90 thing. Only after spending a couple of hours answering the responses did we kind of count in our head and realize, oh, today is 90 days to Easter. And so that was never a planned kind of thing. It was something that just happened to us. So in some sense, it's so fitting to come back here to Vienna and have this be kind of like an official launch of Exodus in Europe, because this is in some sense the original home.
So Doyle, it's such a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too, Brother Brian.
So you're not the first time in Europe. I think
No.
you've been often here.
Yeah.
I even remember that the Exodus story somehow began in Europe, actually in Vienna, right?
Yes, yeah, no, it's a wonderful story. So I was studying at the University of Paris for a little over a year as part of my broader education at Xavier University, learning French and philosophy and classical languages. And my brother Jamie had just discerned out of the seminary and had
left seminary, right? Discerned out, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and had just received really the work of the initial kind of Exodus 90 inspiration. He came over to stay with me. I don't know if it's true in your universities across Europe, but my winter break was about 3 months long.
Yeah.
So he came over, and we were together in late November and December, and he was telling me about this Exodus 90 thing, and he had received a quote from a web developer to build the first website. And of course we're both basically still young college students, haven't had a job really.
Like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, 10 years ago. And so we have no money. So it's like, well, how are we going to pay this $8,000 for this website? And just talking together one night, we, had this idea, well, what if we crowdfunded it? So I actually did a little smoke test. I built a little crowdfund, a personal one, of, hey, I would like to go to Mont Saint-Michel to go pray. And I just posted it on my Facebook page, didn't do any promotion. And a friend of mine and a relative, both within 12 hours, had made a small gift to this crowdfund. And I thought, okay, this is what we need to do for Exodus 90. So the next day, we put together a GoFundMe page. And then spent about a week there in that December. I think that would have been December of 2015. And we called all of our friends and family back in the States, asking them to contribute to this crowdfund. And we raised a little bit over $8,000. And then we went on vacation, kind of forgot about it. And we started up in England at Littlemore, where St. John Henry Newman had his cottage north of Oxford. Then we flew to Rome for a bit of a silent retreat. And then we started taking trains from Rome all the way up through Europe. And one random day, we were in Vienna. It was in January at this point. And we just started getting email after email, dozens, even hundreds of emails about this Exodus 90 thing.
Through the crowdfunding page.
Yeah, through the crowdfunding page. We had posted an email address where people could get in touch. And only after spending a couple of hours answering the responses did we kind of count in our head and realize, oh, today is 90 days to Easter. And so that was never a planned kind of thing. It was something that just happened to us. So we stopped our vacation. We spent 3 days in a hostel in Vienna, answering emails. And so in some sense, it's so fitting to come back here to Vienna and have this be kind of like an official launch of Exodus in Europe, because this is in some sense the original home of the work.
Yeah, and it was great, like the last days, to meet all those guys who also were inspired by Exodus, who were working to translate all this stuff. And I think we all enjoyed it, no?
Yeah, no, it was incredible. I got in touch with Johannes maybe 2 years ago, and Ekosh more recently. And when I learned what they had been doing for years, basically without our help, to translate the text.
And also without permission.
Well, sure, yeah. And to just learn about all of the effort, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the time that had been spent because they had personal transformation through this thing. It's so inspiring.
Yeah. So for me, the highlight was yesterday evening, like sitting together with a beer and having a little bit like deep talk about the zeitgeist, things that are going on, like the church in the States, here in Europe, our role in this big like scheme of salvation history. In the end, it's about that. And I think you mentioned at one point that you were like deep in the rabbit hole of Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what led you in there, because I myself also had this like Nietzsche time, and I think his writings are somehow compelling, especially to young men who start to question like how society works, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I want to frame this in the context of the story of the book of Exodus.
Okay.
Because that story is everyone's story. And if you read it and you pay attention to the movement of the Israelites as God is setting them free from slavery, you'll find a lot of parallels to your own life. And for me, you know, I was blessed, you know, with Jamie. We had incredibly faithful parents who really patterned what the faith was meant to look like. We had strong mentors in priests. And a very solid classical education, the liberal arts, languages. And so for me, my journey was very much one of, I think, my childhood was kind of like the time from the plagues through the parting of the Red Sea. And then I had very much a golden calf episode at that time in my life after helping with Jamie with the initial crowdfund. I had a golden calf moment and really lost not only the faith that had been such an important part of my life up to that point, but also just the standard of morality. And I really struggled with drugs and with alcohol, and not just like recreationally, but it became very much dependence. And you know, after having witnessed kind of my moral and spiritual life get ground to pieces, at least the one thing I had left was at least this intellectual knowledge that the faith was the foundation of everything. But it was in that context, in that darkness, that Nietzsche came up in my course of philosophical study, and he just takes a hammer to everything.
The hammer, the philosopher with the hammer,
The philosopher with the hammer. And so in the darkness of spiritual and moral darkness, to then really take Nietzsche seriously and have an intellectual darkness there. I mean, I was so lost. And I was telling you last night that my road to recovery really began with taking up Exodus 90 for myself. And recovery is a long road. It doesn't happen magically over 90 days. It's a continual daily process that continues to this day. But right around the same time as my first Exodus 90, I stumbled across Jordan Peterson online, and you know, at that time he was just coming up. This was, I guess, 2017, 2018, when he was really hitting the scene. And what I so appreciated about him was that he allowed me to, without having to discount or just throw away everything that Nietzsche had said that was so compelling. I was able to go back to the book of Genesis through Jordan Peterson's Genesis lectures with all of the context of Nietzsche, and discover that there is a way back up the rabbit hole, so to speak. And so, I credit, you know, Jordan Peterson with the intellectual encouragement to take the scriptures seriously as texts. And then ultimately, if you read the book of Genesis deeply and well, right there, I think it's in chapter 53, it points to the coming of the Messiah. And therefore, the book of Genesis was what I needed to ultimately find my way back to Christ.
Wow. I think your story displays really beautiful how like the different dimensions of our being are intertwined, you know, like that if you like lose your track morally, you will also do it intellectually. You can't separate it. You can't just hold to abstract and to an abstract truth, while you're living like a life which is far away from it, and the other way around too.
Right.
So, yeah, I think Exodus also has this moment of like looking at human in a whole perspective, like body and soul.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that is just true of church history is that all of the renewals that we see, you know, with Benedict, with the Desert Fathers before, with Benedict, with Francis, the renewal of the church comes from an individual man or woman receiving a call from the Lord, conforming their life to the pattern of the Master, and not with a plan. Right, it's like none of these, like Anthony or Benedict or Francis, they didn't have a plan to go renew the church or build up a great order or anything. It was an individual calling to holiness that then prepares the foundation for the creation of culture and ultimately of Christendom. And I think that's what's so that's the staying power of Exodus 90 is that we're not trying to do anything more than invite an individual man in a local group to encounter Christ together with his brothers. And the stories of transformation that we hear about are just stunning. And they come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. You know, I think in particular I have a heart for the guys that will write in with a story very similar to mine, you know, in the depths of despair with a drug or alcohol dependency. But there's just as many, you know, vocations that will come out of it, or guys that merely say, you know, I just needed to be able to structure my day and have the time for the things that matter, like prayer and my family. You know, I was wasting it away scrolling social media or playing video games or something, and all of those transformations are so powerful.
What is the question you would pose on someone who maybe now in this moment is at such a like dark place, be it intellectual, also like existentially? Where would you guide this man to which direction? Like his attention.
The darkness is darkest when you realize that it's dark. And at least it's my experience that there comes a time when you look around and there's no light left. And it's in that moment of despair. We call it rock bottom in English. You know, it's in that moment that you'll look around for anything. And I would just, rather than offer a word of, you know, trying to convince someone of anything, it's just that if you're in that spot, if you're in that darkness, there is light and there is a way forward, and you can't lose hope. It's in the depths of despair that you can lose hope, maybe want to no longer be in this world. And the assurance that I have for you is you might think you're lost, but you're not, because you've been found by our Lord already. And he's searching for you in the desert like he searches for the lost sheep. And therefore do not lose hope. Because any recovery from no matter how far you've fallen is possible. And as our Lord promises, the choirs of angels rejoice more for the lost sheep who is found.
Would you say that your faith has been like deepened, strengthened through this golden calf time and climbing out of the rabbit hole again? Have you been like, was it also some kind of preparation for your service now?
Yeah, I mean, most definitely. I've always been a person that's tried to live without regret. I like to joke that the only regrets I have in life are not learning to play the piano as a young man and not taking a specific class in high school. That was totally irrelevant, right?
Okay.
But I think, you know, more seriously, to your point, I think God in his providence allows the good and he allows the bad. And that's not to say that it is his will for you to fall into sin, but he will absolutely use the fact of your past, the fact of your darkness, the fact of your sinfulness, that his name may be glorified in you.
Mm.
And so therefore, yeah, it's so preparatory. And you know, Jamie may have mentioned this in the last interview, but it's been a long road of, 10 years.
Yeah.
I've been on the full-time team for about 6.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been parts of that journey that have been very electric, very exciting, lots is happening. There have been other parts of that journey that are a little bit more challenging.
Mm.
And we're just trying to stay the course, trying to keep the ministry going. And it's in that period of where there doesn't seem to be a lot of fruit from all the work you're putting in, that at least for me, I just remember where I was, and I know that there's another man out there that's just like I was, and if we can find him and invite him into a life of transformation in Jesus Christ, just one more guy would be worth it, So not only was it, I think, preparatory, I think it is the motivation, to keep going.
Yeah, I think it widens your own heart, that your heart may be also open and a place for those to come in and to experience something.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doyle, for answering the call of our Lord, for being at the forefront.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
And for sharing some small bits of your way. I think it's so incredible to see how God is working in every life, and this, of course, every life is absolutely individual, but there are also like common narratives, of course.
Absolutely.
And it's great to talk to a philosopher, because my way also was inspired by philosophy, and can't wait to see you next time.
Me neither. It will be wonderful.
Thank you, Doyle.
Thank you, brother.